Welcome, everybody, to another athlete interview here at Gym Life Podcast. Today, I've got another member of the great American Strong Woman community we have. She placed 7th this year at OSG in the U64 class. This is Hanna Coldiron. How you doing, Hanna?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great, and thanks for joining me today. You know, you were one of those other strong women. There's so many of them out there. This new generation of strong women coming up through the United States that has this certain flamboyancy about them. You know, you guys own your characters, if you will. And I always watch you on Instagram and your training, and you just strike me as another one of these very sort of outspoken, strong woman characters that, you know, kind of lights it up through your alter ego a little bit. Am I accurate by saying that?
I don't know if the alter ego ever goes away,
Yeah.
but I think people would argue that I could kind of pull back on the dad jokes a little bit, but other than that, it's going pretty well.
Yeah, I think you're doing great. You know, you placed 7th this year at OSG. How did that invite come about for you?
Well, I did the online qualifier.
Okay.
So I just did the 3 video submission and then waited to hear back and was pleasantly surprised to get an invite.
Yeah, well, I listened, finishing 7th, that was a pretty big class, wasn't it? How many girls were in the U64?
It was like there was 20 plus. I think
Yeah.
originally there's supposed to be almost 30, but when weight cuts and everything went down, I think it was a little over 20 girls.
Yeah, I thought that was probably one of the biggest classes there.
Mhm.
Yeah, 7th is nothing to shake a stick at, Hannah. I mean, that's a great finish. You know,
My YOLO goal was to top 10
Yeah.
or to get to the 3rd day to be in the top 10, and to be able to place above that was, I mean, even better. So I was really excited.
Yeah, that's exciting. Wow. And it just sets the stage for you in 2022 moving forward. We'll talk about that here in a little bit too. But, you know, I want to get kind of, you know, like what we like to do on Gym Life is kind of talk about your origin story a little bit. You know, where you kind of started in your athletic life in school, kind of where it led to and brought you to where you're at now. Can you kind of share that with us?
Yeah, so like growing up, I was a silly, nerdy fat girl. Like I didn't ever do any sports really. Through high school, I was really proud of my Letterman jacket I got in journalism because I was a yearbook editor. Didn't do sports, never went into the weight room outside of taking team photos for yearbook. But then I just got into CrossFit like when I was in college, and just that took off. Like I was there every day, 2 times a day, as many times as I could a week. Did that for 8+ years. And then when I met my boyfriend, I was still doing CrossFit, and he was really into strongman. And he was like, "You would like it. I think you should try it." And taught me a few movements. And I was like, "Oh, it's only a minute long and it's heavy and fun and awkward. That's the part I love about CrossFit." So yes, I want to do that instead. And that like kind of brought me here. I've gotten way farther in the sport than ever I would have in CrossFit.
Well, well, and we're glad to have you in Strong Women now, of course, and it's nice to know that the heavy lifting brought you here, you know, but the crossover is not uncommon. You see that a lot, that being a CrossFitter, and we've made this reference so many times, like beating a drum, but you're kind of ready made. I mean, you come right into Strong Woman. I can only imagine the only difficulty for you is just sort of figuring out some of the implements. I'm sure your core and all these other aspects of your muscular physique were ready to play. You just had to figure out the implements. And what was the most difficult part for you transitioning?
If you would have saw my first log clean, you would have thought I would have never have made it this far. Straight reverse curl, ugly. I thought Jared was going to break up with me because it wasn't working out. But that was probably some of the odder overhead implements were different. I was always used to using a Bella bar or like a female Olympic bar. So tiny, even smaller than a regular. So switching over to a standard 45-pound bar was actually a big deal too.
Yeah, I can imagine. Sure. Yeah, some of us guys, sometimes we get lucky to find that Bella bar in the gym. We don't know we're using it, and it messes up our whole day when we realize our bench press wasn't 405, it was really 395. So I had that.
Or the squat bar when you get a little humbled. Oh, everything's heavy today.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, you know, so when you first got into Strong Woman, then you that to make that transition, you know, you said you kind of got nudged in that direction a little bit. What was your first show?
I did Metroflex Strongest back October. I think it was 2020. Oh no, sorry, it was 2019. Jared was like, "Well, we should try it." It was 3 days notice. I texted the promoter and was like, "Hey, can I come in? Like, can I jump in?" And did that show. I didn't win, of course, but definitely lit the fire, and I was really excited. I think I was the only girl that split jerked the log
That
there,
CrossFit, I
and they
tell
were
you,
like,
yeah.
"What?"
Right? It is pretty weird when you see it for the first time, isn't it? When you see someone, yeah, split jerk like that. So you didn't win. So you didn't have this all of a sudden this breakout moment in your first show, but
Oh,
you were
not at
hooked.
all.
You were
Yeah, I
absolutely
was
hooked at
hooked.
that point.
Well, I was
It-
like, it was one of those, I'm gonna come back and beat all those girls. Like, you, and you.
yeah, you're
I'm
taking names,
coming.
right? You're taking names. Well, you're in a pretty fun area out there in Oklahoma. I mean, there's a lot going on in Texas and Oklahoma and the
Mhm.
strong man scene in general. I think I made a mention on the show the other day that Texas has got more strong man competitions than anywhere in the country.
Yes.
I can imagine Oklahoma and you being very close. That provides just a plethora of opportunity for you to compete. What was your next show after that, and when did you start kind of figuring things out a little bit?
Well, the next show I did, I signed up for the Ronnie, which is known as like a pretty heavy show and an Arnold qualifier. And it was the first time I was going to do, oh, sorry, no, it was a battle axe barbell. I did that one. I went as a 148. It was my first time ever like cutting a few pounds to compete. And I thought that was kind of cool. And that one I ended up placing second in with a literally a video reviewed stone load over bar. They had to
Oh
check it to
wow!
make sure who placed.
Oh, geez, oh Pete's. Wow, that's
Yes.
tight.
I think me and this girl went at it and it was like 17 something reps with a stone over bar in a minute. It was
Oh God.
gnarly, but um, that CrossFit conditioning kind of came
And
back
that
into
was a heavy
play.
show, you're telling me? Yeah.
Yeah, that one was pretty gnarly. And got second and then got a lot hungrier. I was like, oh, I can do this. This is fun. And then signed up for the Ronnie, which is a heavier show.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Actually, that's where I met like some of the girls I go against now and stuff too. And I learned a lot that show. It was a bigger weight cut for me. But then I realized I can do this. I deserve to be here kind of deal.
Yeah.
But that was really it, was the Ronnie kind of, I zeroed my first event and that taught me to not to try to ever zero event again and come in a little bit more prepared for any local show. But you mentioned Texas having a lot of opportunity, which it is great. I get to compete in Texas a lot. But I just talked to Strongman Corp not that long ago, and I'm actually the new state chair for Oklahoma. So we're bringing
Okay.
Strongman back to Oklahoma in full force as much as we can. So we're friends with there's a USS promoter that promotes in Oklahoma, and then me running some shows in Oklahoma now too. So
Yeah, I
hopefully
would think that
more.
the athlete pool is pretty deep out there in Oklahoma, and you're certainly going to draw from northern Texas as well. It makes
Mhm.
sense, right? Because you're sponsored by Death Before Dishonor.
Pretty much.
And they're from Oklahoma, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so my boyfriend Jared is actually the owner of Death Before
Oh,
Dishonor.
okay, good. Because I'm looking for Death Before Dishonor to give us some stuff to give away on the show. That's perfect. This worked out great.
I know a
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, good. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and we try to rep in Oklahoma a lot. We have a lot of friends in Texas that rep us really well.
Wow.
Texas is a huge fan base for us, so it's nice to be able to give back in both, like
Yeah, you
Oklahoma.
guys have a great fan base everywhere, as a matter of fact. That's interesting to find out about you and Jared, because everybody loves your gear and it's just so unique in a great way. And I've bought enough of it over my days as well. And so, yeah, anyhow, that's awesome. And I think Oklahoma is going to, you're not gonna have any problem out there. Just take somebody to actually get the shows ready and get scheduled. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I
that's
tell you, then I might even fly out to that Death Before Dishonor this year just to be a part of that, because I know that was probably really, really cool.
yeah. That was our
So
third
you
one.
learn your school, you kind of get your knocks out of the way in these first couple competitions and kind of zero in a little bit more on your competition and understand what you need to do now to perform at a higher level. When was that moment though, Hannah? I mean, when was that moment where you just said, okay, this shit's mine now, I own this?
It was, I guess, right when I qualified for Worlds, I was like, oh God, I'm gonna do this. And there were these girls on that list that I was like, okay, I was afraid of, and I knew they were gonna beat me, and then like I'm beating them and stuff. I'm seeing their stuff that they post on Instagram, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
I did that for a triple, and that's their PR. Like, oh, that's cool. Like I'm starting to get there and get a little
right.
stronger. And then I did another show at Battle Axe, kind of like a tune-up show in between Worlds in my prep, just to kind of shake the rust off, and place first, which was a good like kind of I don't know, ego boost, I guess, going into
Yeah.
another show, is going to get some pretty strong girls in Texas and still being able to place first in a bigger weight class. Like I just went up a class and
Oh, wow. Okay.
in order to kind of keep the gears going. And that was like, okay, I can do this. Like if I can go up and go against girls that are bigger than me and still win, I have a pretty good shot of going against girls that are my size.
Yeah, I'd say, right, you're setting yourself up for some success like that. Was it difficult really kind of coming up, and how big were those women's classes? I mean, because sometimes you're kind of forced to move a class just because maybe the competition's not there and it's like, well, what's the point, right? Did you run into that a lot your first couple shows, or were you kind of,
Yeah,
did you?
getting combined.
Yeah.
Ton of combining. I think the battle act, actually the battle act show I did right before Worlds was the first time I didn't get combined with like a lighter weight class. Like I went in as a 160 or something. I went in like I just went in a bigger class, and we went against the 180s too, but that's kind of normal. But at least I wasn't like lumped in with the heavyweights, because
Right.
I've been put with heavyweights almost every show leading up to that. Even the Ronnie, I went against like a heavyweight pro
Yeah.
as a 140.
Yeah, you certainly learn it. You learn to compete quick sometimes when you're kind of thrown around a little bit in those weight classes. I mean, it's kind of a necessary evil in the amateur ranks. We're not quite there yet with all these competitors, but I think we're getting there. It certainly is proven in OSG that we have such a depth of class. It just depends on what show you go to, I guess.
Yeah, it's an Iron Podium and some the other companies that have, like, you can actually see who signed up. That's been really fun too, because you can go
Yeah.
find out, oh, there's already 4 or 5 in that lightweight category. I can jump in and not get combined, probably.
Yeah, what's interesting about strong men and women in particular, Hannah, and I think you would agree, we search the competition out.
Yes.
We're not looking to get a cheap medal at a show because I'm the only one in my weight class.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a nature to it that we all kind of have that in common.
Anytime I tell my like parents, especially my father, I'm like, oh, I placed 7th at Worlds. He's like, oh, how many? 7 people? And I was like, no. It's always that. Or
Right,
if I
right.
got first, like, oh, are you by yourself? I'm like, no. Like, that's kind of a I guess a qualifier for strong woman shows is, do you have at least 3 in your class?
Yeah, no kidding. It really is. But what do you think about this new sort of, I don't, it is kind of a rebirth of women's strongman in the United States. If we go back, 7, 8, 9 years ago, there were a couple, 2 or 3 really key competitors, and really the only time you seen them together was competing at a really high level show. But now we're seeing this major upheaval of strong women across the country. I mean, really, I mean, it's a revolution right now. I mean, the
It's
amount of
awesome.
quality competitors we have. What's your take on all that?
I'm super excited. It's going to advance the sport. Like, there's a lot more women involved now. So not only does that come with um, like more opportunity for other women to get involved, but more people seeing like, oh, like that person looks a lot like me. I could do this. And it's not just the 3 badass women that everyone's always known about that you can't level up to. Now you see like people coming off the street and doing it and doing really well. Like
Yeah.
people you would think that look crazy jacked, are still kicking butt. That's what I'm really excited about, is it's making it more for everybody. It's not just for the top elite girls anymore. Like, you can jump in anywhere and still make a name for yourself.
Well, I think too, and coming from a fan's perspective, I think there's a unique quality about strong women right now in the United States, because we're kind of seeing just the tip of the iceberg. So there's excitement almost at every turn. We're
Yeah.
seeing these big numbers being broken. We're seeing these, I mean, we're seeing girls like, under 62, like you, that are just holding up a circus dumbbell that's twice your size almost. And that's one of my favorite pictures of you, by the way. We're seeing these amazing feats of strength that for a long time in the men's side of things, we didn't see much change in that. But with women, it's exponential right now. It's almost like every other month a record's being broken. Or I think Inez hit like a 300 log in practice the other day, which
Oh yeah, she's
is
insane.
crazy.
I'm excited we're going to Beerstone that Gabe, one of our athletes, is putting on, and I'm so excited to watch her. She's insane overhead. Like, it's
Yeah.
insane. Like,
I never thought I'd see that number, Hannah. Honestly, I was talking about it last year on the podcast going, yeah, maybe we'll see a 300 log someday from a woman in maybe 2 or 3 years. 6 months later, we're seeing it already. So it's
yeah,
got to be
her,
pretty
like
exciting.
Nadia too. I think Nadia just locked out like her lean back press. She just locked out 300 and it didn't look hard. Like,
Yeah, I think that's going to be a battle. Is she going there? When's Nadia going to be competing next?
I'm not, I know I believe maybe Clash on the Coast for the
Oh, yeah,
records.
yeah, that's right.
If
Yeah,
not that, then definitely Worlds. I know that for
yeah.
sure. So
Well, I think one of the things that we look for from a fan now is, and women at your level, and there's a plethora of them across, obviously, the country, to get you guys in the same place to compete now, right? There's this anxiousness to watch these matchups take place, and it's difficult. I'm sure it's difficult for you. Is it hard navigating through kind of the contest of the seasons of this contest in the season now? Is it something that you really sit down and kind of look at and go, okay, what really makes sense to me? Or do you have certain shows that you say, hey, listen, I'm going to be there no matter what?
Yeah. I used to be really scared of competition. Like I would Instagram stalk all the girls. If
Yeah,
they had a better deadlift, I'm like, no, I don't want to go against them. I'm scared. Or if they had whatever better. But now I've just learned like there's always going to be someone good there. And if
yeah,
I'm not trying to chase that, I'm not going to get any better. And a lot of the girls, like the 64 class is pretty um, consistent. It's like the same girls over and over again.
yeah,
So I qualified for the Clash though up in it's going to be in May, and those same girls I'm probably going to be going against at Worlds. It's going to be
yeah.
the same group, you know, Rion, Christine, Shannon, like it's going to be all of them again, and I'm excited. Like so I kind of get to see them again and be friends for a little bit, crush it if I can, and then see them again in November and redemption if needed.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. You run into them a couple times, right? I mean, as a competitor,
Yeah.
that's just a great feeling. Like you, because you know, in this sport, there's no guarantee of any finish on the podium because the events are they can always be one off, or at the same time, you might fumble a stone and it could cost you three
Oh yeah.
spots.
Yeah.
But it's
I mean,
nice to
I
have that
zeroed.
opportunity to be compete against these people again, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I zeroed the log at Worlds, but crushed the yoke and the moving events. So I and that's what secured my spot. It wasn't because of my static strength by any means. It was because I can move.
Well, that's your wheelhouse for sure. I watch some of your training on Instagram, and I mean you're dynamic. I mean, anybody climbs the rope faster than you, please raise your hand right now. I'd
I
like
know,
to know who
right?
that is. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, but that dynamic, that athleticism that you have that you carried over, and obviously you're working on your static strength all the time. I'm not so sure that's even a real problem. Maybe just log pressing for you, huh? You said the overhead's kind of the most difficult.
Well, it's some, and when it gets to a certain number, so I'm pretty sketchy around 175 and up. And with the weight cut, I didn't know if I was going to get it or not. 175 actually would have been a PR for
Yeah,
me at Worlds if I got it. But especially, it's always one of those goofy things. After training, you get home, you dust the rust off, you get back into training, then you hit it. It's like, oh, where was this 2 weeks ago? It's
right, right.
great. Like,
It never works in competition, does it? I know
yeah,
it's always
never.
like 10% less than your PR in the gym, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So that's one of your big things you're working on in 2022 now, right? Is your pressing, or do you have any other kind of areas that you felt like coming out of last year you weren't particularly happy with, or was that kind of it for you?
My biggest thing is my deadlift off the floor. I'm great at an elevated height, like anything above off the floor, I excel in. But my off the floor could use some work. So my coach and I are kind of going back to the drawing board and really going back to the basics. Like we're doing deficits and bands pulling from the front and just hammering it just to make sure that I'm prepared and that I can pull a little bit better these days. And then overhead all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
My log is a little bit of a nemesis from time to time, but Axel has always been very nice to me. So that's because it's a little closer to a barbell.
yeah.
That one's moving along just fine. But if I can get my log to get it together, it'll be good.
Yeah, that log sometimes can be an enigma, right? Because when you're used to pressing a bar or cleaning pressing something, especially coming from CrossFit, I mean, that movement's just down for you. I don't care how thick that bar is, but that log, it changes things up a little bit. There's a
Yeah.
bit more of a lean on that. I don't know. You guys use a 10-inch log, right? Is that kind of standard?
We used a 12 at Worlds, and then the Clash contest is a 10-inch log.
Yeah. What do
So
you prefer out of 10 and 12?
12 actually. I
Do you?
thought I was very scared of it at first, but the clean on it is so much easier for me. And the handles are relatively in the same spot.
Yeah.
So the press is just a little bit further out in front of you. That's the only thing that that's probably a little bit of my kryptonite. I tend to press away versus straight up.
Yeah.
So
It'll
anything
cause you
that
to maybe lean a little bit more with that 12 inch is what you're saying?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
for
Yeah, that
sure.
surprises me actually, especially with your stature. That 12 just, I mean, I'm glad that you like the 12, but I just picture that just really burying you, but you like it. So it worked.
Yeah. It makes me look very small
I would
because I'm
guess
only
that.
like
I
five
would guess.
five.
Yeah, the way that circus dumbbell, that was a great picture. I might have to post that one for here, but yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about the sport, right? I mean, it's very few people other than maybe Nick can't do everything perfectly right now, but it leaves the reckon that every time we come from a show, there's always something we get from it to know we have to be a little bit better next time to compete at a higher level. Yeah, that's another reason to love the sport, and we hope we get everybody else loving it. How's the fan base out there in North Texas, Oklahoma? You guys are really setting a fire out there in the strongman community?
Yeah, it's been really good. It's been really good. Now we're really good friends with the Texas Strongman Court promoter, and we kind of bounce ideas back and forth. And then like hosting comps and stuff up here, it looks like we've got some pretty good interest. Unfortunately, all the state records have been lost or not been able to been found. So what I'm doing is my first comp is actually including 3 records that are up for grabs. So pretty much if you compete and win your class, you're going to get a Texas, I mean, sorry, a Oklahoma record, and hopefully a really cool, like little bison head trophy. That's what we've been
Yeah,
posting.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's
But
always fun, right? Come and get the record. That'll start setting the
yeah,
stage every
like kind of
time
like,
there's a
let's put
show.
us back on the map. Let's do it right. Let's do it fun. But yeah, we have a lot of cool ideas coming up that we want to do, but this is only kind of the start for us to do it.
And when does that first show? What are you guys thinking about?
That's April 16th. It's coming up here pretty soon, actually. Pretty standard events. It's like a max axle clean and press, that's available for a record. Standard deadlift, that's available for a record. And then yoke for time, which is a record as well. We've
Yeah,
got some funner events, the arm over arm sled, and then sandbags over bar, because I like those a lot.
yeah, those seem to be really popular right now, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, they are. I guess they are. I was giving.
I know Terry talks about how much he loves them. I'm just kidding. He hates them. How much he hates sandbag over bar, but it's one of those events after a long day. At least it's not crazy heavy, and
Sure.
most people can be able to do it. But yeah.
Yeah, you can get yourself up for that one at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You're right. That's kind of like coasting through the event. You're like, okay, sandbags are coming up. I'm fine. That is funny. But yeah, I was making a point on my show a couple episodes ago that we want to see more squat and we want to see more tire. Right. And I don't know why tire's not around. I get a mixed bag on that nowadays. Like it hurts people, but I mean, doesn't everything hurt people? So, I mean, how do you feel about that? What are some events that you would like to do that maybe?
Oh man. Well, my favorite is circus dumbbell. So this is all the details aren't ironed out yet, but one of my clients actually owns a circus. Like
Yeah.
a full-on
Oh,
circus.
really? Okay.
Yeah. So her and I have been talking about she actually brings her circus through Lawton. So we're going to use the circus tent one of the days, like a Saturday, to host a strongman show in it.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to do old school circus events. It'll obviously be circus dumbbell, maybe the Steinborn squat. We were thinking about creating some type of those wine barrels to cover up the plates on a barbell. So you would do like a barrel squat. Yeah, it would be very old school, very fun. And actually some of her employees that work for the circus would be helping with the show. So the Joker
Hannah,
would go
that is
around.
a great idea.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool.
I can see the pageantry of that coming together a little bit, selling cotton candy and popcorn and all that stuff. Yeah.
The whole nine, like making it like an actual city event versus just a local spectator event.
Oh, wow. That is such a great idea. Oh my God.
Yeah, we're really, really excited.
Yeah, let's see that happen. I will be.
Y'all heard it here first. No one steal my idea.
No, we won't even post this, right? Yeah. Everybody ignore this part. Yeah. I don't think anybody else has a friend in the circus business, honestly. So you're probably pretty golden there.
I got pretty lucky.
Yeah, I think you did. I think they're a dying breed. You don't see them around too much. So what is your programming like, by the way? Who's training you?
Sam Bellevue out of Canada.
Okay.
She is fantastic. I've been with her almost a year now, actually, I think. So happy 1 year, if that's the case. It's back and forth. Like there's some conjugate that's in there. There's some dynamic power, strength, agility stuff that's in there. But mostly like I kind of have like a big leg day on Monday, a back day on Tuesday, pressing Wednesday, rest Thursday, deadlift Friday, and then strongman Saturday. It's kind of how I play it out.
3 on 1 off, 2 on 1 off kind of thing. Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, just trying to get some recovery in before the heavier part of the week. But I always love Mondays because it's always heavy. It's always a squat of some sort. And it's a fun day. The chain yoke has been a new addition to my training for just more stability muscles and stuff. So that's been really fun. It's a strongman, you always need some help setting stuff up. So that's been a good one.
Yeah. You got enough people you train with, or do you generally train by yourself?
Mostly trained by myself, but if in our gym, we actually have a gym up here too in Lawton. That's where we host the Depth Force Honor Open.
Okay.
Is at that gym.
I've seen pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have quite a bit of strongman community, a decent strongman community there, but it's honestly mostly Jared helping me out with loading stuff or grabbing one of our friends to come help spot or something like that. But for the most part, him and I work out together for the things that I need help with. But other than that, I kind of just keep to myself as much as I can.
Yeah.
If you can imagine, I'm a talker. So if I get into talking, it'll be, oh my God, it's been 20 minutes since I did my last set. I probably should.
A picture says 1,000 words. I see how much fun you're having all the time on Instagram.
Yeah.
So do you use your, are you more of a conventional, I guess not conventional, wrong word, more of a gym equipment gal leading up to sort of what you're working on specifically? I know there's a couple different camps with that right now where, most of the training for some people comes strictly off gym lifts and they transfer those over to implement training for a specific competition. Or do you find yourself training on implements regardless, just to sort of, are they more prominent in your workout or less, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, more of so like when I'm not like signed up for a contest or getting ready for one, it's kind of like back to like off season, like we're using regular barbells, and then I'll get my strongman day, like my Saturday I'll get to play with implements. But now we have implements jumping back into the program through the week, like axle for pressing or log for pressing, still conventional like deadlift bar, like and stuff, and we'll switch it out for axle just back and forth.
Gotcha.
But most of my strongman implements are on the weekend still.
Okay.
And I like it that way. I can kind of work on my static strength and then have my fun stuff towards the weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's probably majority of people still do it that way. I've just talked to a few that kind of maybe are overthinking it, but what works for some people may not work for other people, I guess. For me, I'm
Yeah,
kind
and
of
I've asked her before. I'm like, oh, why is this? Why is that? And she's like, oh, to protect your wrists or to save them, so you don't have to worry about hammering them every single time.
yeah.
Because I'm in a 13-esque week prep. That's a long time to
Yeah.
be doing the same things over and over again. So
Yeah, it is for sure, especially in this sport. What about your are you generally dropping weight to come into a show at under 62, or are you kind of already dancing around it? Okay.
yeah, so I usually stay around like 150 to 155 or so.
Yeah.
After Worlds, I had a ton of fun eating and drinking everything I wanted.
Sure. You're a strong woman.
And, yeah. we went to Disney afterwards, so we like ate and drank our way through it. Which was really,
that's a
really
lot of
fun.
fun, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm already dialed back in, getting my weight back down, so I don't have to cut a bunch.
Yeah.
Because cutting weight's never really that fun.
No, it doesn't work all
and
the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd rather stay closer and more competitive as I can, and only do like a 5 to 6 pound cut if possible.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Something you can easily get done in 3 or 4 days if you wanted to. So
Exactly.
yeah. So your contest, just to be clear, your contest schedule for 2023 or whatever 2022, what am I talking about? Is you're going to Clash.
Yep.
And then so that's first on your list, right?
First on my list.
Pretty quick.
Mhm.
What is that? That's the last week of April, isn't it?
Middle of May 14th.
Oh, okay. What am I thinking of? Clash on the Coast?
Clash on the Coast is April 23rd.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking. What's the clash you're thinking of?
The Clash of the 64s. So we're all competing.
Oh, that's right. Shoot, I kept forgetting. That's right. Anthony's got this stuff all over the place now. It's hard to make any sense of it. I'm kidding. I love Anthony. He knows that. So, okay. And where's that show going to be?
That's in Plano, Texas at Metroflex.
Okay.
It's actually the very first place I competed in strongman for the first time. So
it
it's
sounds
kind of
like
fun.
the perfect stage for you then, isn't it?
I know, I'm excited.
Yeah, that is so fun to have it right in your backyard like that. And that should be a pretty big show. Who are some of the strong women in, I guess in the sport in general, Hannah, that you befriended and found yourself sort of, walking the same path with? I know there's some, a lot of these different camps out there, but do you have a collective that you kind of talk with and bounce ideas off of?
Yeah, and some compete and there and some don't, but they're all in the same class. Like just off the top of my head, like I've really befriended like Jillian Funk. She's awesome. She's been very, very supportive, very sweet. Kim Scott out of Colorado. She's been a longtime depth supporter too. So I've actually gotten to work out with her before in Colorado before Worlds and stuff, before we ever got to the world stage. I've known Christine Matthews. I met her at the Ronnie for the first time when I was still a very baby strong woman, and she kicked my butt. But then like actually getting to meet like Rion and Chloe and all of them at Worlds, like they are just really nice people. Now she's not in my weight class, but I don't know if you've had the opportunity to meet or talk to Annabelle Chapman. She's one of the nicest people of all time. Like she's so sweet.
That's what I keep hearing. We talked to Rhea about, I guess, 8 months ago, and she said this and she predicted it on her when we talked to her in the interview. She says, there's a girl over here right now that's going to blow the doors off the strong woman community.
Oh yeah.
And isn't she doing it? And I keep hearing great things about her personality. So that's awesome.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of Worlds was we were warming up for stones. She like picked up, I forgot what the weight was. I think it was in kg, and I didn't have my calculator.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But she picked it up. She goes, "Oh, that's heavy. I'm good on that right now." Just like walked away. It was awesome.
I've heard great things about her. I mean, her name is just kind of like synonymous with just having a lot of fun right now, which we all are. But do you keep track of that UK scene over there? You know, I'm a big fan of that scene over there. There's some pretty impressive women.
Yeah, actually, like that's where I kind of fangirl over a lot of those girls. Like Chloe Brennan was a really fun person to meet. I've watched her stuff for like the past 2 years, and I was like, man, if I can get, okay, she's smaller, she stays lean. If she can do it, I can get there. Like, you know, kind of thing. She's one of those that, like, I mean, I see her doing it, I can do it. You know, she's and this is nothing to discredit Chloe at all, but she's not like this crazy jacked, like intimidating girl. You know, she just kicks your butt with a smile on her face. Like,
so she's one of the women you pattern your game after a little bit then as well.
Yeah. I've never seen something like her on the karaoke at Worlds. That was insane. Like, just no hesitation, just super fast, super confident. But then a joy to be around outside of that. You know, she didn't really have like the competition, like like that alter ego that kind of like, don't stay in your lane, don't blinders on, don't talk to anyone. She was super helpful, super talkative, super nice. So I really enjoyed spending a little bit of time with her.
You get two different kinds of competitors, don't you? You get those ones that really, and you got to respect it. They're in their lane, stay away. And you get the other ones that's kind of how they relax at a show. They don't mind chatting and talking a little bit and getting to know people. And
I was just proud of myself for not crying the whole weekend. I did really good.
Hey, no tears. That's a win, right? Yeah, absolutely. Especially after zeroing that damn log. Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh. Like, I was like, oh, darn.
Well, you moved on in 7th place. I mean, you certainly made up some distance. I mean, it helped with having a big class like that, of course, right? Because you can make up some distance real quick. And I guess that's why we always cheer on a bigger strong woman or strong man class in every show, because these variables and these little intangibles, boy, they can change everything like in one event.
Every day. Day one was, I was like, kind of like, I was like right outside of 10th place. And then day 2, I was like, ooh, okay. Like, this is game time.
That is so exciting, man. At your first Worlds to be able to take 7th place like that. And you're right, you're in a monster class. I mean, you're looking at some icons, really, some people that have just done amazing things, but that's got to be such a huge motivator for you in your training. I'm guessing between depth and your training, I mean, you're just inundated in this community 24/7.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. Most people think like I either work for the brand or just like work at the gym or something. I was like, I have a full-time job. Like,
you do? What is your full-time job? You mind me asking?
So I'm actually a new business manager for a franchise. I help people open their first business or first salon. So I get them from, like, they sign their agreement to buy a franchise, and I help them find their location, real estate, construction, staffing, marketing, and then I actually fly out there and open them up and teach them how to run the business. That's my normal. That's why I travel so much for at different gyms all the time. It's because it's for work. Doing something, so I'll have to find a gym to drop into and train at.
I have noticed that. I thought, wow, that's interesting. You are at a lot of different places, but I guess that's nice when we have jobs outside of this stuff too, right? Because it kind of resets us and makes us appreciate a little bit the fact that it's training day. I'm not on the road anymore. I can get back to my routine.
Yes.
I think it
keeps me sane on the road too. When I am gone, I do find a gym. At least I have something to like kind of break up the day, not just sit in a hotel room for 4 or 5 days straight bored.
Well, and guessing by your personality, it probably keeps you in check with your training too, because you're not overdoing it, So yeah, that's really cool. How about your diet and stuff? Do you pay much mind to that or not really? Because your body, you generally find yourself 5 or 6 pounds on a general sort of consumption.
Well, right now Sam's doing my nutrition, my coach. So we're doing like kind of carb cycling. So my training days are certain numbers, strongman days are certain numbers, and off days are sad. But other than that though, it's she's really good about that. We do like weekly check-ins, as long as I remember to put it on the spreadsheet kind of deal. And we're just kind of monitoring as we go. But nothing too crazy, just the simple. I mean, it's chicken, rice, broccoli, repeat. I always have a bagel and a protein shake before I work out is like my ritual. It's either like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a cinnamon raisin bagel. It's like either or.
Making me hungry. Yeah. You don't have any, you're pretty short, right, Hannah? How tall are you?
I'm 5'5". I was 5'6" before I trained yoke a
I
lot.
guess you just train with a lot of really tall people. I wouldn't have guessed you at 5'5". Uh,
Yeah.
so you really have an opportunity if you wanted to bump a weight class. Is that ever something you considered?
Yeah. So we were going to kind of see how this year goes, and then maybe even 2023. But that 73 class seems pretty appetizing for Worlds. Now there's some stellar girls in there, so
Sure. I think
that would,
I think it's a Dragon's Den anyone you go to now, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. For me, that would be the next step up if I were to do it. I
Yeah.
would have to really grow into a true middleweight class,
That's a
though.
commitment. Yeah, that would be a commitment for sure, because you're right. You want to put on that muscle. And but there's, hey, that's a pretty nice thing to be able to think about, though. I mean, because definitely at 5'5", you're in your stature and you're already pretty athletic, or pretty. I mean, you're very athletic. Yeah, muscle gain is not out of the question.
Yeah. And it's funny to be one of the taller girls, even though I think I'm short.
Man, I
I'm one of
thought
the
you were
taller.
short. You do hang out with some pretty tall people. I thought you were like 5'1" or something. Yeah. Sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
well, my boyfriend's part Samoan, so he's pretty tall.
Is he okay? Okay,
Yeah,
that
and then
makes sense.
one of the guys at our gym, his name's Jared Bratcher, another Jared. He's massive, so anytime he spots me, he makes me look like I'm 4 foot tall.
Yeah, yeah. That's
I
what it is. Then you're getting all these people around you that are way
just
bigger.
have a lot of tall spotters.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it. So, okay, well, hey, Hannah, I appreciate our chat here today, and again, I'm grateful to have you on. You definitely represent, this flamboyant sort of fun, really sort of eclectic bunch of great strong women we have. You represent well, and I love watching you all the time because you just have this energy about you that's infectious. But I think it's great in what you're doing, and so thanks for coming on the Gym Life podcast today. You got anything to add?
No, just thanks for having me. I'm super excited for the year and then what's coming up next. But that's all I got.
Hey, well, I appreciate it. I'm going to get this out today, and I'm sure everybody's going to appreciate everything you had to say. And thanks again. Gym Life Podcast. Stay strong.